What's going on, family? I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. I'm going to continue to examine 100 years of world championship fights. It was August 21st, 1939. Lou Ambers would defeat Henry Armstrong and regain his world lightweight championship belt. Referee Arthur Donovan would take 5 rounds away from Armstrong. He claims that Armstrong would force 5 rounds of low blows in front of an audience of 29,088 spectators, surprisingly frightened and confused as to why this was happening. See, they invested $137,925.77 to watch Arthur Donovan remove round 2, 5, 7, 9, and 11 from the scoring system of Henry Armstrong. Armstrong was 29 years old. He stood 5 foot 5.5 inches. He was a featherweight, welterweight, and lightweight champion. Now, he had already removed the featherweight championship belt from his resume. He had a 67-inch reach with a record of 98 wins, 12 losses, 7 draws, 64 knockouts. He would earn $40,947.99 for this fight. As for Lou Ambers, he was 25 years old. He stood 5 foot 4.5 inches, lightweight, with a 70-inch reach. He was a former champion en route to regaining of his title. He had a record of 84 wins, 6 losses, 7 draws, 28 knockouts coming into this fight. He would earn $23,398.85. And it was a night that most spectators would never forget, because history was happening in front of their eyes. And I met some of those spectators, at least 4 of them, that were actually there. They said it wasn't a dry eye in the house, because they saw history remove itself. And Henry Armstrong was the pride of Harlem, pride of the African American community. Because before Henry Armstrong, you didn't have a black featherweight champion of America. You had Kid Chocolate, but he was from Cuba. George Dixon, and he was from Canada. But Henry Armstrong would be the very first featherweight champion, black fighter of America. But then when he had the audacity to move up to face Barney Ross, who was a legend in his own right, and become the welterweight champion, it was unheard of. But then he went down to the lightweight division and captured the lightweight championship belt from Lou Ambers. Now you had a black fighter who would own almost half of the titles in the division. He only had 8 at that time. So he had the featherweight, lightweight, welterweight championship belt. John Henry Lewis had the light heavyweight championship belt. Joe Louis had the heavyweight championship belt. Great year in 1937 and 38 for these fighters. Henry Armstrong was something else, man. When he was in that ring, he dominated every square foot of it. And he was determined to move you around from corner to corner, from pillar to post. He would sink his head into your chest, throw uppercuts and overhand rights, would walk you down until you couldn't breathe, or you would collapse, whichever came first. He would throw body punches and headshots without a worry in the world. And all the fighters in his day knew it. When Armstrong would lose to Lou Ambers, it was a moment in time those who were there would never forget. You see, there's a large history when it comes to the black fighters. And they made up so much that when one lost, you would wonder who would the next one would carry the torch. As I show you my book, Ring Magazine 1926 edition, an article that explains black fighters, what they've gone through. And during that time, once you became champion, you represented those who before you and those who were coming after you. There are fighters such as Bob Armstrong and Peter Jackson Black Prince, the Barbados Demon. You had the Baltimore Demon, Peter Jackson, and the Barbados Demon, Joe Walcott. Frank Craig, the Harlem Coffee Cooler. They called him the original George Godfrey. His name was Old Chocolate. Joe Jeanette. Joe Gans. George Dixon. He was Little Chocolate. Harry Wills. Sam Langford. Boston Bone Crusher with Sam Langford. You got Tom Molyneux and Bill Richmond, Larry Temple, Kid Monday, when you go to the next article, the next page, the Black 1791 to Harry Wills. It explains in full detail what many of these fighters have gone through. So when Henry Armstrong would lose his lightweight championship belt, he had already given up the featherweight championship belt. He was now a welterweight champion. And we will follow Henry Armstrong's welterweight reign. See how many more fights he had left. But I can tell you, he would lose in 1940 to Fritzy Zivig. But on that undercard, you would have a young man that would pick up and carry the torch. His name was Walker Smith, and we'll learn about him. But 1940 would be a year. Some of the greatest fighters in history would turn professional. But Beazer Charles and Willie Pep, Ray Robinson, Jimmy Bivens, Ike Williams, Burt Littell. Oh, what names you would have there. We'd have Jake LaMotta, who would turn professional in 1940, but he would have his first fight in 1941. Bo Jack turned professional April 4th, 1939. And he would have another fight April 12th, but his next fight would be 1940. So I consider him a 1940s fighter, as I consider Jake LaMotta a 1940s fighter. We'll continue the journey of Henry Armstrong to see what more he would accomplish. It was a sad night. Lou Ambers would defeat Henry Armstrong to regain his lightweight championship belt. Henry Armstrong was ahead on points, but he would have 5 rounds removed from him for excessive low blows. I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. Fighters such as Jeff Clark, Bill Tate, Kid Norfolk, Joe Jeanette. Yeah, Blackfoot Simmons, they called him Kid Monday. Jack Johnson would defeat Jim Jeffries. 1910. Independence Day. To add insult to injury. Until the next video. Salute.